Hello and welcome to another episode of God-Sized Story. Today is a very special and different episode. I have two guests with me today. I have Tyler and Rocky. And instead of just a normal story from one of their lives, we're all gonna kind of talk a little bit about 2019, and it was for all of us in different ways. It was really kind of crazy and different, and we really came out the other side of it very different people. Tyler, introduce yourself a little bit.
Hey, I'm Tyler Nelson. I've known Craig for a while now. Been great.
About 4 years.
Yeah. And I'm 21. I'm going to turn 22 in a few weeks. And I work as a paraprofessional. It's kind of like a mini assistant teacher at a middle school now. And I've been loving that.
There's a 2019 update right there. That's like even before we're getting into the big stuff already right there. There's a 2019. How about you, Rocky? Give us a little intro.
Yeah, I met Craig, I would say probably a couple years ago for Bible study. I think was the first
about
time.
3-4 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, honestly, it feels like it was just yesterday.
Yesterday.
But I'm 21. I actually also turned 22 in the next few weeks. And I work in sales over at the Infinity store.
Mm-hmm. Rocky's very much a car guy. It's been kind of a big part of me knowing him. I've done some fun car things with him. I remember we were reminiscing earlier about an old car he used to have. We went to a junkyard once looking for parts. That was a new experience.
It's better than actually just playing, going to the actual Honda store, because dude, you go there, it's a couple $100 for the same thing you can get for $20.
Exactly. We're just gonna each talk a little bit and talk about our 2019s, because as I said, it was a crazy year. I'm sure a lot of you as well had a crazy year of ups and downs. But you know what? It's 2020 now. Wow. We're gonna be inspired by God. We're gonna take this year. My wife and I keep saying that 2020 is going to be our year, because 2019, it was a lot more downs than it was ups for us, and we're just charging into 2020 ready to just take it. Tyler, give us a highlight of a couple of the big changes for 2019.
2019, taking it all the way back a year ago. So I had been working at my church for a few years, and I just started a new job at the beginning of the year. It was my first kind of big-time job. I was going to be a parts manager for a company in Chicago, and that kind of got me excited. And right before that job happened, I had an experience that rattled me in a lot of ways, and really God used it to change me. And
hello, listeners. Over the next few minutes of this portion of our conversation, Tyler talked about a pretty big car crash that he was in January of 2019. Through some retrospective thought and discussion with him, we decided not to add it to this podcast. There's a lot of raw emotion and details that happened that, we're only a year out from, so we decided it was better to just leave that in the discussion between the three of us. Just really the gist of it is the car was totaled, and it kind of changed who he was. If you're friends with him, I'm sure he shared this story with you, and he is very open and will talk to you about it, but we decided it was best to just kind of remove it from the public discussion that we are putting forth to all of you. Thank you so much for understanding, and now back to the rest of our discussion.
I remember then the next day when you were telling me all this stuff, we're at my house right now, and we're sitting on a different couch, but in the exact same spot. And we were just
a year ago.
Yeah.
Almost to the day,
which is crazy. And I just remember the change that was going on in you. God was definitely shaping you into being a very different person from that happening.
I learned a lot, matured a lot, learned what I value and what I not, and really just being in awe and thankful to God.
I know we were talking earlier too. Unfortunately, that wasn't than your only car of
Oh.
2019.
Oh, okay. So yeah, 2019 was a very interesting year. Yeah, I owned 4 cars last year.
Oh my gosh.
And if you count, I had a rental for a few weeks, so that would count as 5. But so I started off the year I had that car, which was gifted to me only a few weeks earlier from a friend who had moved to England, and he wasn't bringing his car, and he gave it to me. He was a very close friend I've known since grade school. And then I crashed that car, and then I had the car that I had before that car that he gave me. I had a Civic, and I just went back to using that car for a while, and I got a new job as a parts manager in Chicago, so that car wasn't good enough to make it there, so I often had my boss. We commuted together to work, but then I earned enough money to finance a new car, and I loved that car. It was fun. Toyota Camry, and I used that all summer and fall, and then I ended up leaving my parts manager job based off commute and other things there. It just wasn't working out, but I got my new job at the middle school where I'm a paraprofessional. That's definitely been very fulfilling for me, something that
Yeah, I worked
God
a
is
job
leading me there.
like
That's-
that for years. Great job.
yeah. And then 2 months ago, that car that I thought I was going to keep for the Toyota Camry, I thought I was going to keep that for a long time. That got stolen. I went to Thornton's, the gas station, with a friend, and at that gas station, there's parking spots literally directly outside of the main door. So I parked it. I turned off the engine, but I left my front door unlocked, and I had the fob for the car buried in a bag in the back seat. But I went in that bag, and then I just grabbed my debit card and ID, went inside, bought a drink, came out, and my car was gone. So within a matter of 3 or 4 minutes, and my friend just looked at me. He said, "Wait, where's your car?" What? I was like,
Where's your
"Parked it
car,
right
dude?"
here."
My drink was
Yeah. So that was a weird feeling. Just
Yeah, I
like that was some shock.
Yeah.
No.
I would not know what
Yeah.
to think walking back. outside.
Honestly, the shock of looking at my car crashed, that was a bigger shock because that felt like
Well, sure.
there's different kind of shocks.
Right.
That kind of shock was like devastating. Like it wasn't hitting me like this is real right now. It was
Yeah.
like, is this even real life? It felt so. What am I even looking at? Did we literally go through that? Because it didn't feel like it. It's
Right.
It happened so quick in the moment.
It happened so
Mhm.
quick. It looks like what even just happened. Going out and finding out my car was gone was just kind of a shock. Like, I don't know. What do I do? It's like, what do I even do? So I just ran back in with my friend, told the cashier someone just stole my car. Dialed 911, handed me the phone. I told the cops, and they came.
But did you at least have your phone, or was it in the car?
Oh, I had my phone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I
was
told
like,
him,
whoa.
and he immediately just dialed
Yeah,
it and
yeah,
gave
yeah,
me the
yeah.
store phone. So the cops
Oh,
came
man.
and we took down the report, and it turns out that a very drunk lawyer, a longtime lawyer, he came to the gas station, and I know he bought a Twix and Red Bull because I later found those 2 things in my car when I
Didn't even get
got
to
to
it.
the scene of the accident. Yeah, there were smashed Twix beneath the gas pedal and a Red Bull on the passenger seat. I guess this is what he bought. So he mistook my car for his. His car was parked about 5 spaces away, and it was like a very nice Mazda. Do you remember?
I think you had mentioned
What
it.
did Acura.
Oh,
It was
okay.
an Acura. It was like a really nice Acura. And I don't know. The controls are all different. I don't really know how drunk you have to be.
Yeah, you gotta be.
He
pretty
must have been pretty messed up.
But he got my car, and then about an hour later, maybe an hour and a half, we found out that he had stolen it and totaled it. And he got pretty far too, maybe about 30 miles
Wow.
He made it like
to
incredibly
the state
far.
line.
Like he got.
Yeah.
You said like what?
He got to the state line
Oh my
Yeah.
That's
goodness.
insane.
from Thornton. So yeah, then me and my friends just kind of camped out at Thornton's and watched everything unfold. Like a lot of cops coming. They had to call down the store manager. I don't know, or maybe the owner, apparently, because no one had access to the footage.
Right.
So they got someone down. They woke someone up.
Oh my gosh.
It was midnight to come down there. They reviewed the footage but they found him just crashed, totaled it in a ditch. A cop was just driving by and found him there. Then I had a rental for a few weeks, and then I got my new car now, which hopefully maybe this is the one I keep.
This is the one. This is the one.
This is the one.
Yeah, it's gotta be the one.
But yeah, that's a crazy
2019, very interesting year. Those are probably the biggest things. There were other crazy things.
Right.
What a year. That's changed me. I never thought I'd go from custodian to parts manager to teacher. It's just
all in a year.
Yeah. But I think God is placing these things in my life and moving it in a direction just to serve and honor him more every day. And like my new job is one of the most, it's weird. I started in September. Like I started a couple weeks after the school year started. So I've been there for 4 months. I look forward to going to work every day.
That's a good feeling to have.
It's something that I'm really good at. I've never had this before. I've never felt like that. So
amen to that. Then. How about you, Rocky? How about some crazies, ups and downs, and inside outs?
You know, what's funny is like the start of the year for me kind of was almost similar to like the end of the year last year. You know, something big happened. Right? Like I've always kind of similar to Tyler. I've always had like troubles. Well, just like with keeping the same car for a different reason. You know, I would buy these cars that are, you know, completely beat up. You know, needs a lot of work done to it, but it runs and drives. You know, that was mainly the one thing I was always looking for. But it would only go for a little bit. And you know, the start of year last year, I think that was my first car that actually ran pretty well. And I had enough money this time around to actually put money into the maintenance for it. And so, you know, I spent probably $1,500 just giving brand new axles because apparently the boots on them were going bad. And I did all this work to it, spent all that money, and just to come find out that the same axle I was replacing wouldn't fit into the old spot because it had just been worn down so much. So it was just, well, I'm stuck needing another car, and I just spent all this money on maintenance. And so it's like I don't even have a down payment for even a financing at that point. So I was just kind of looking everywhere. My credit score wasn't the greatest either, so I was just trying to find, because I didn't want to go into another beater like that.
Right.
No, it's just after the fourth time I've learned my lesson. So I finally, you know, was able to get financing, and I picked up, you know, this is probably my favorite car I've ever had. Not just because it's reliable, but just because it's fun to drive too. It keeps you interested still. I think that's the biggest thing also, is just enjoying the car while I have it, because you can have a car, but like you actually enjoy it kind of thing. But, you know, I mean, financially, everything was going well for the first time in a while, because I had been kind of bouncing around to some jobs, and, you know, I had just started working in sales for Infiniti like the past July. And this was the first job I was like, you know, same with Tyler. Like, I actually enjoy going, you know. You know, yeah, it had some of its hiccups and rough spots, but it was a job that I could be okay with going to every day, you know, for numbers of hours, you know, because it's kind of more lengthy on time. I had to be there. And then everything kind of seemed to be going pretty well. I was killing it in sales. You know, I was one of the top, and everything was going pretty well. And in the summer, I met, you know, a really pretty girl, you know, and we hit it off almost immediately. I didn't know her too well. We had known each other for a while, but it wasn't like I knew her like I could talk to you guys.
Sure.
So, you know, everything seemed to be going well first couple months. But more and more, I just kind of realized like thoughts that I've never actually like thought of before, because this was my first serious relationship.
Sure.
You know, it was getting to the point where I felt like I was doing a lot, but it was just like, I felt like I was doing almost too much, where it felt like the other person almost felt like they weren't doing enough.
Right.
And I think that's something that was kind of hard to realize was, you know, maybe I'm not guarding my heart like I should be, kind of thing. That was the biggest thing I kind of have been taken away from this past year, was I put everything out there, and I didn't slow down. I didn't pace myself. Like I just, you know, we started throwing "I love you" around really, you know, pretty quickly, you know, and I didn't know what that meant, you know, I just knew how it felt. So I was throwing it out there. And, you know, I just didn't realize that something can always happen. Something can always end, you know. It's not anybody's fault at that point. It's just what happens. I took it pretty hard. I mean, these past few months were just, it's just me like contemplating and fighting for the relationship when it's just really like it's getting to a point where it's like beating a dead horse. You're just kind of saying the same things over again. I'm not really moving forward at all. So in the beginning of this year, I'm just kind of right off the bat, just going through a separation kind of. It almost seems like a separation problem because I got attached so quick. I think, like I said, I didn't guard my heart to the point where, okay, like, yeah, obviously you can give somebody 100%, but like, kind of take your time, get to know them first. Learn to make sure that for who they are, you do care about them actually. It's not just the honeymoon stage where you're just enjoying the couple months and then that's it. So that was probably the biggest thing I learned. Being more cautious of just going into another, I guess date.
Yeah, man. The Lord, He gives us these emotions. They're tricky things, and I love the whole thought process and the whole thing you're talking about, guarding your heart. And there's countless scriptures that really teach that well to us on how to do that and how important it is and how to not give ourselves, as you were saying, give ourselves away 100%, because it can leave us so empty when we don't focus it properly. And
Definitely.
then when you get in that groove, it's a totally different, when you're in that line, it's just so beautiful. And it doesn't, even then when it seems like then from an outward perspective, it can look like you're giving more.
Right.
But it'll feel like you're receiving more than you're giving in that situation. And it's a blessing when you can get to that. So I'm glad that you're starting to notice some of those.
Well, and to be quite honest, if I didn't have friends that were actually looking out for me, and saying like, hey, look, we've noticed this change in you, are you okay? Like, you've been quiet, you've been kind of just, it looks like you're here, but not actually here, it just kind of seems like your mind is somewhere else, And if it wasn't for those people that actually like reached out to me and were there for me, I don't think I would have made some of the decisions I actually would to kind of head towards the right direction. I didn't always make the best choices within that time period, but it was just me frantically trying to figure it out. And I eventually, kind of came to grips with it.
That's what we're saying. 2019, man. It was a crazy year. Even for me, 2019 was definitely one of the biggest years that I've had for, as I was alluding to earlier, definitely more on the downside. Came into the year, I had good expectations for the year. We were hosting a friend of mine in our basement while he was doing an internship at the church we were at, and I was looking forward to that. That's, looking back now at my 2019, is definitely one of my highlights, was him living here with us and just the joy of having that. But early into the year, I came to a realization with my own personal walk that I wasn't doing some things well. I wasn't in my word much. I wasn't praying. I just really was kind of keeping a gap in there between God and I. And it got me in some trouble. It's like God very much got in the way and brought me back, just because I was really not loving him and treating him the way that I ought to. And it made for a pretty hard, long 2019. Is then looking on the good side of that, though, after he kind of woke me up from some of that stuff, I got into this beautiful reading routine. In the year 2019, I probably read at least 320 days out of the year in my Bible alone, and then just reading all sorts of other books. I read like 5 books, not my Bible last year, which is maybe the most I've ever.
When's the last time you ever?
I don't
think I have. Like, and it's like I can't even use the blanket statement of like, I haven't done that since high school, because I didn't read in high school.
Yeah.
I didn't. We had Spark Notes. I didn't read my book.
Magic Treehouse.
There you go. Yeah. Maybe since like Captain Underpants has it been since I've read 5 books in a year. So that, like, coming then on the flip side of hitting my face pretty hard, that was such a joy for me, and I grew a lot in that time there. But also at the same time, my wife and I decided it was time for us to transition out of the church that we'd been a part of for a few years and just find another church in our Lake County area here to be a part of. Just looking for a few things. Trying not to be consumeristic about how we're looking at church, but just wanting to be a part of something in a different way. And that was really hard because, we'd built up some really close relationships, like you two guys here, and we were doing ministry with you guys, like having you guys over every week for Bible study and stuff like that. So kind of letting go of that so God could grow us and then lead us into whatever
New
this
season.
whatever this 2020 has for us. So it, and then a couple other things. It was such a weird, long year. It's like we're sitting back and talking about some things that happened, about a year ago. And now it's like, that was a year? Like, that seems like it was like 2 or 3 years ago. It's crazy. But I can really look now and thank the Lord for, both the good and the bad. Obviously, I don't always like to thank him for the trials he puts me through, but it's making me into the man of God that he has planned. And I see that for you guys too. Like, I've seen you guys grow in different ways, and I see you surrounded by people, as you were saying, Rocky, that really do care for you. And it's like, that's been a blessing for me from an outsider perspective for you guys, as I've seen your friendship blossom. Because like, I met you guys, you were in high school, and now you're adults now. You've got jobs. You've got not just jobs, you have careers now. You're thinking about future and life and not, high school thoughts, which is encouraging. So then from the outside to see how you guys have grown as friends, or as brothers even, not just friends, has been a real encouragement for me. So I really want to encourage you guys in that. It's 2020. Keep surrounding yourself with those men and women in your life. Know God and want you to know him more. And maybe this time, let's put it on the calendar now. Sometime in the first 2 weeks of 2021, let's have this discussion again, and we can be like,
oh yeah,
we'll be like,
this is your yearly review.
Yeah, we'll be like,
Craig, Rocky, Tyler.
There you go. And we'll be like,
call me out, my future self.
Yeah.
And this time we'll be like, man, 2020 was all up, which that's going to be impossible. There's no way that that's going to, there's always going to be ups and downs. But as I was saying earlier, my wife and I really want 2020 to be like our year, but also for everyone around us. Like, we really want to inspire everybody around us to be like, this is the year. The Lord's going to use us for great things. He's going to, he's going to get us in shape. He's going to get us not just physically, but spiritually. And we're just going to grow in all these different ways. And I look forward to sitting down again.
Today is just an answered prayer, honestly. I think even for me, because I remember immediately after my accident being consumed by just grief. And then I remember praying and thinking to myself, like, God, please get me through this. Every day I woke up and just was thinking about it for the entire day. The last thing I remember before crashing was I was like, shoot, this is it. I'm dead. And then coming out of that, and then I was praying, crying out to God and being like, I wanted it all to be over, like, to be able to move on. It felt gets kind of hopeless sometimes, but that's just a trial, and I need to be faithful. But praying, like, where am I even going to be in a year from now? I was just looking forward to that right after the accident. Like, can we just fast forward a year or something?
And now we're here.
Yeah, I know. And then this is that moment. So it's just an answered prayer for everything that he's brought me through, and all three of us the last year. So
adversity, man. That's honestly that's what the answer was the beginning of the year last year when my first car broke, and I think that's going to be the title of the beginning of this year too. So just kind of like moving forward, man. So it's a tough thing to do. It's not easy because it requires change. It's not always easy to change bad habits that you got, bad issues that you got going on. But I think as long as you're trying, I think that's the most you can really do.
Trust in the Lord and keep trying. God is good. All right, well, listeners, thank you so much for joining us for this wonderfully unique and different. I actually really like this. This has been very different than my normal setup and normal program. And I really challenge all of you out there to sit down, take a look at your 2019, find those things, those highs and lows from the year, reminisce on the good and the bad, but really praise God for all of it, because all of it is making you who you are, and really let 2020 be God's year in your life. Thank you. Goodbye.